No. We apologize for being tardy to this live stream. We had some equipment issues here in studio that we're dealing with, and I think we've overcome. Looks like we've overcome. Sounds like we've overcome. And we appreciate your patience in that regard. So here we are. National Football League is a year-round sport. There's no question about it. It goes back a few commissioners. They've all got the same goal. And that is, of course, to keep an interest level in the National Football League on a national basis year-round. And they've, I think, achieved it. This part of the season is an interesting one. It's a roster-building time of the year. You've got unrestricted free agency, and we'll delve into that another time in a more extensive fashion because we're going to hit on the draft, which is another roster-building area, obviously. The Bengals drafted 6 players. They also are in the process of trying to sign college free agents that they have selected, and they hope they get under contract with the Cincinnati Bengals shortly. And then, of course, there's the secondary phase of unrestricted free agency as well, where there's some veteran players out there that the Bengals hold, I think, in pretty high regard. The Cincinnati Bengals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is it 11 or 12? I mean, they did a good job in free agency as well. They addressed defensive tackles in college free agency, I should say. Dante Barnett, defensive tackle international pathway program. That one I think is going to be interesting to take a look at during the course of training camp. But they signed Howard Cross, I think a very very notable name that was available after the draft. They got him under contract. Eric Gregory, a defensive tackle out of Arkansas that they got signed. And I like this Seth McLaughlin, Ohio State. He was a highly regarded prospect. A lot of people thought that he was going to be drafted, captain up at Ohio State as well. That's the thing. You look at this draft. The 6 draft choices the Bengals made, 3 of the 6 players, captains. Howard Cross, leader, captain type guy if he wasn't a captain. McLaughlin, leader, captain type guy if he wasn't a captain. I mean, it seemed like almost every other pick was a captain, and that speaks to the character and the football character that this football team and this organization is interested in building. Zach Taylor has done a phenomenal job in building the culture the way that it's desired with the Cincinnati Bengals from an organizational standpoint, and a lot of these players are going to do nothing but add to that culture. The 6 players the Bengals drafted, if you're not up to speed on that, Shamar Stewart, 6'6", somewhere between 275 and 290 pounds probably at this time, maybe between 270 and 290. He was up as high as 290 for the season. He's kind of shed some weight since. I think he felt like the weight might have hurt his quickness, his ability to redirect and change direction and all that sort of thing. He's going to be wearing number 97, Geno Atkins' number. Nobody has worn that number since Geno Atkins was with the football team. And they took him with the 17th selection of the draft. Demetrius Knight Jr. is going to wear number 44, the 49th pick of the draft. And he's a linebacker, 6'2", probably in the 240s, in that range. Another physical player, Shamar Stewart, known for his physicality. I mean, he's big, like we talked about, but he runs a 4.59 40, 40-inch vertical jump, 10-foot 11-inch broad jump. I mean, those are freakish numbers. Those numbers, a defensive back would be pleased to put up those numbers. Run a 4.59 40, have a 40-inch vertical and almost 11-foot broad jump. And this guy, 6'6", 290 or 280, whatever he is, 275, I don't care. That's sick. It's very interesting to see what they're going to do with him. He could play out on the edge. He could kick inside the defensive tackle to at least to rush the passer in the nickel, or he could line up there as well and play play first and second down there if needed. Very versatile player. And I think that's another thing that you look through this, through these 6 draft picks: versatility, leadership. Like we talked about, captains. These guys were able to play more than one position. In today's National Football League, you have to almost be able to play more than one position unless you're a superstar, multiple-time Pro Bowler, and you're set at that position. There are going to be injuries. There are going to be factors that dictate guys might have to move around and leave their position of comfort and go do something else for the football team. Guys have to be able to do that. And Shamar Stewart can do it. Demetrius Knight can do it. He can play inside or outside linebacker. He put his hand on the ground and rush if needed in packages for Al Golden. This guy was a former quarterback in high school, so he's athletic. He's a very sure tackler. He understands football, obviously, playing the quarterback position. He's a tremendous processor because he's at the quarterback position on the defensive side of things. At linebacker, he's kind of the quarterback of the defense. He reads his keys very quickly, diagnoses plays very quickly, very strong in the huddle, gets his teammates lined up properly. If there's a shift in formation that dictates a change in the way the team aligns itself, he can make those necessary pre-snap adjustments. He definitely understands the game at a very high level. And Paul Brown used to ask us all the time as players, I want you to understand what you're doing. There's no question about that. But I also want you to understand why you're doing it. That'll enable you to realize that what you're doing is very important. And if you understand the big picture, you understand what your individual role is in that big picture, it'll help you make sure that you do not screw up what you're supposed to do from your individual role standpoint. So understanding why is extremely important, and Demetrius Knight has a high-level understanding of why in the game of football. One thing that probably little work needs to be done: change of direction, proper angles, little football geometry. Those can be corrected very, very easily. You talk about an athlete. Demetrius Knight Jr. is when in his quarterback days, he rushed for over 1,000 and threw for over 1,000 1 year at the quarterback position. So you're talking about a pretty damn good athlete right there. One of my favorite picks of the draft, Dylan Fairchild, 3rd round out of Georgia. This guy's got some dog in him, and I mean that in a positive way, not a negative way. Teammates talk about, yeah, man, he's a dog. In other words, he's gonna battle you to the whistle, and that comes from the wrestling background. He's a undefeated high school wrestler for 2 seasons. Did not lose a wrestling match in high school. I'm telling you, it helps you as a football player. And Tim Crumry is my example that I've gone against over the years. Other wrestlers as well gone against, and every single one of them, the thing that you know right away when you're going up against a wrestler, he's going to be hard to get off his feet. Their balance is extraordinary. They've got core strength, they get hip strength or hip flexibility as well as hip strength. They bend at the knees and not at the waist. They can get low, so they can lower the pad level. And have good balance while they're lower. So they have good contact balance. And the thing that Fairchild does, he's a good run blocker, but he's an outstanding pass protector. He allowed 1 sack in his SEC college career. 1. In the SEC, best conference college football has to offer. I mean, his pass protection grade with Pro Football Focus was 87 last season. I mean, that's pretty strong. He's a former teammate of Amarius Mims down there at Georgia, so that's going to help. I think you come into a new environment, and to have a friendly face, a familiar face there will work well. I think that he's advanced from a football standpoint. Because Mims was like this. You look at Mims at practice last year, and you could tell that they get coached well down at Georgia, and they work against outstanding teammates from a level of competition every day at practice. And I can tell you, when I was working against Crumry, Mike Reed, whatever the case may be, some of the great Bengals interior defensive linemen, they make you better. And hopefully, you make them a little bit better. And that's what was going on at Georgia. You have the interior offensive and defensive linemen working hard against each other at practice, and everybody gets better. You know, the entire boat rises, and they all benefit from that. Fairchild is really, really outstanding in the pass protection. As a wrestler, he doesn't mind if it gets close quarters. You know, his arms aren't the longest, but if he keeps you locked out and he's got good hand placement, and he'll stagger his hand placement a little bit, keeping it inside the framework of the body. And really, in just about any athletic endeavor, starts with your feet, ends with your hands. If you've got good feet and you can finish with good hands, no matter what it is, throwing a baseball, catching a baseball, shooting a basketball, playing football, you know, in the offensive or defensive line, starts with, ends with your hands. And Dylan Fairchild is got good grades in both of those areas. You know, it's going to be interesting. Scott Peters has got an interesting way of teaching some new techniques and mechanics and toolbox for his offensive linemen. The footwork, instead of being staggered, it's more squared up, and then it makes for a longer arm on an extension. I think Dylan Fairchild is going to be a sponge to what Scott Peters is teaching. I think Scott Peters feels pretty good about what Dylan Fairchild can do with his techniques and the toolbox that he's going to give to him. I think he likes the fact that he's a former wrestler. Scott Peters himself, you know, mixed martial arts guy, jiu-jitsu expert, all that kind of stuff. So I think they fit each other pretty nicely. His lateral quickness is pretty good, and that's handy from a pass protection standpoint. A lot of times in pass protection, you know, the first thing you have to do is set strong and be stout, and he's stout in that area. And like I said, he can get his pad level down. So with Joe Burrow at the quarterback position, the one thing you want to do on the interior of the offensive line is keep the depth of the pocket. Don't let that collapse. Don't let that fall into the face of Joe Burrow. If everybody's in Joe Burrow's face, he cannot see the middle of the football field and tell distances properly and all that and make the throws that he wants to make. So if you can keep that pocket firm, and the tackle's responsible for the width, and the guard and the centers, the center and guards are responsible for the depth of the pocket, and Joe Burrow can stand in that pocket and throw, or climb the pocket if need be, and have distinct running lanes that he can identify because it's all not right in his face. I mean, then you have a good dynamic going on, and I think that Fairchild is going to be a factor in that regard. He's tough. He's got football character. He's got quick, active hands, like I talked about. He knows how to place them properly, and his anchorability, flexibility, his balance, all very good. If he does get out of balance, one thing that, again, I know, having worked against former wrestlers and football players, man, they can recover and they can get their balance back quicker than you. I mean, their recoverability in terms of staying balanced is extraordinary, because that's a lot of what it takes to win a big wrestling match. In the fourth round, Butkus Award finalist Barrett Carter. Bengals had a higher grade on Barrett Carter. You know, and that's the thing with this. Every team is going to say after the draft, you know, the player we took in the fifth round, we had a high fourth round grade on him. The player we took in the sixth round, we had a middle fourth round grade on him. And it's true. I'm sure it's true, because every team has different needs. Every team evaluates players differently. Every team looks at players and says, okay, we're running this scheme. That guy, I'm not going to place him as high because he might not fit our scheme all that well. This other guy, though, he fits our scheme perfectly. He goes higher on the board than another team might have that player. And the player who didn't fit this scheme fits this team's scheme pretty well, and now he's higher on their board. So everybody's board is going to be different. And it doesn't matter where the hell you get drafted, to what team you get drafted. Although it'd be great if you go to a team that does have a scheme that fits your physical tool set and the way that you can play. I mean, that's an ideal marriage. There's no question about that. And in today's football, there's no excuse for that not being the case. But it doesn't matter what round you're drafted in. It has no bearing on how your pro career is going to go. I mean, the thing you have to do is you have to go into mini camp and show that you have the athletic ability and the mental capacity to and physicality to play in the National Football League. And then you go into, mini camps, you go into training camp, put the pads on, show that you can hang with the big boys, and then preseason games, grade well. I mean, you just have to go out and be a football player. That's what, when the rubber meets the road, that's what it's all about. 40-inch vertical jump is great. Great. I mean, if you're in a dunk contest, it's phenomenal. I mean, you can probably dunk between your legs, behind your back. You can do everything. 40-inch vertical jump shows extreme athleticism. Does it convert to being able to do what you're supposed to do and help you be a good football player? It should, because you have 40-inch vertical jump, particularly like Shamar Stewart on a 275, 280-pound frame. You can go vertically 40 inches and horizontally on a broad jump, almost 11 feet. Oh, you're talking explosiveness. You're talking suddenness. And let's see how it translates on the football field. And that's obviously going to be the big key. So back to Barrett. He's a 3-down player. He's excellent against the run. He does a great job in coverage. He's a good downhill blitzer as well. Clemson ran some sophisticated coverage schemes. They do a pretty good job down there in that regard, and Carter handled all that pretty well. So they asked a lot of him, both physically and mentally, and he stepped up and performed at a high level in that area. Another excellent leader. He was the center of the Clemson defense for 3 years in terms of in the huddle, making the calls, hearing the communication, the green dot, whatever you want to call it, in his helmet. He had 81.9 Pro Football Focus grade against the run. Pretty damn good. He's a very versatile, athletic, run and hit type linebacker, and I think he'll fit what Al Golden wants to get done there. Jalen Rivers, big offensive lineman out of Miami, and I say big, I'm talking 6'6", 320, long arms, big reach, excellent pass protector. He's got excellent pass protection grades and pass set grades, courtesy of Pro Football Focus. I think he can play either guard or tackle. I think that Dylan Fairchild can do the same thing. He did both at Georgia, although I think, left guard was what he played most recently and played outstandingly, and that's what the Bengals need is a guard. So, he'll probably get the longest look in there. But like I said before, position versatility is a big plus. It's a big factor. Jalen Rivers played at Miami, Florida, big conference, big level of competition. That's the other thing. Looking at a lot of these players, they went to big schools. They're big programs. You're talking, Texas A&M. You're talking Miami, Florida. You're talking Texas Tech. You're talking Clemson. You're talking Georgia. These are big schools, big programs that play a high level of competition, both in conference and out of conference. Finally, Taj Brooks, running back, Texas Tech. I'm sure the Bengals couldn't get that pick up to the table quick enough. This kid, hell of a player. Over 3,100 yards rushing and 27 touchdowns rushing his last 2 years. What? That's some productivity now. I don't care where you're playing football. Those are crazy numbers. Texas Tech, they play good football down there in the state of Texas. Those are serious numbers now. This guy has a low pad level. He's 5'10". He's about 230 pounds. So he's a rock, man. He's a human bowling ball. He's got a low center of gravity. His contact balance is extraordinary. Hard to knock this dude off his feet. He's built solid as a rock. And with that low center of gravity, he's really good in blitz pickup. And he's not bashful about sticking his nose right in there in the chest of a linebacker or a safety or whatever the case may be. The thing about him at that size is he does have he'll run you over with that 5'10", 230 pound, 225 pound, whatever it is, power. But like Paul Brown used to say, the best thing you can do as a running back is run the daylight. Paul Hornung wrote a book, Run to Daylight. You know, I mean, this kid can do that. He can make you miss and run to daylight. So I think the Bengals 7 or 6 picks, the 6 rounds that they had, wishful thinking. They had 7. I know for a fact, in talking to people, that they banged the heck out of the phones. I mean, they tried desperately to trade back and get an extra pick. And there were always players that they felt like when the Bengals set their board, just like every team in the National Football League, they'll set their board and around whatever pick. Let's say, pick number 49. Okay, when we pick in the second round and pick number 49, we have a cluster of 5 players. It looks like 3 of them are going to get to us. Let's see if we can move back. Takes 2, as Paul Brown said, and he's right, and it'll always be the case. It takes 2 to make a deal. They just couldn't work out a deal with anybody else that made sense to the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, everybody's got their trade formulas, the values. If you move back X number of picks, if you trade back, there's value to trading back and all of that. Everybody's got a formula. Bottom line is, they couldn't find anybody that had the same values, the same in the picks and the same mindset. They could not consummate a trade. So they stayed put, made picks that they felt were good, and they've got 6 additional players courtesy of the NFL draft. And again, of course, they college free agency as well. And I do think, I mean, like I said earlier, McLaughlin, he was highly regarded out of Ohio State, had some injuries, and he battled a little bit. I mean, Eric Gregory, highly regarded. Howard Cross, highly regarded free agent. Rashad Owens out of Oklahoma State at wide receiver. People liked him. Caleb Etienne, BYU offensive tackle. People like that guy. The Bengals are rumored to have signed him to a 3-year, $3 million contract. If that's the case, they like him. Dude's athletic. So I say kudos to the people that did all the hard work all year long. The scouting department. Those guys talk about frequent flyer miles. Talk about hitting the road. The scouts that established the relationships, and it's incredible what they do, and they build bonds, and they build relationships, and they build trust and respect with college coaches and with athletic directors at these universities and colleges, and they build bonds that they can trust each other's opinions. And Shamar Stewart was somebody that the Bengals basically jumped on pretty quickly, and followed him through his entire career. That's not unusual. I mean, that happens with a lot of draft picks up and down the draft. Bottom line is, these guys did their homework, they do their due diligence, and they basically boil it all down and make their selections. They were very, I thought, public about how they were going to approach the draft. As we talked about, the interior of the offensive and defensive lines, linebacker, inside linebacker, even safety. They did not draft a safety. They didn't draft a true defensive tackle either, although Shamar Stewart, you can say, can kick inside in the nickel and in base defense. If you want to play a 4-man front and kick him inside there too, there's some position versatility there. They did address both positions in the college free agency market, but they wanted to get better up the middle, and they said, this is going to be our primary focus. Publicly, they had said that. Then they addressed it that way. They picked 2 offensive linemen, interior offensive linemen. You could say one is either a guard or a tackle, but I think Jalen Rivers may project more at guard. At the 153rd pick out of Miami, they draft the one defensive lineman. Like I said, that can go inside and outside. They did what they said they were going to do. The question probably you have, and we'll get to your comments and thoughts right away here. Did they do it with the right people? And again, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got players rated a certain way, and everybody's board is different. But if you can support where you have your guy, you did your homework, you've got all your facts, you did your due diligence, you feel good about where your guy is rated on your board, and when your draft pick comes, you make that selection, you feel good about it, tip of the cap, salute you. You're the one that went out there to the college campus, put your hands on them, worked them out, maybe brought them to Cincinnati for one of the 30 visits, went to the combine, put your hands on them there, either at a school or at the combine. You were in a private room with them, one-on-one FaceTime, seeing what type of person he is, because you actually can visualize a guy answering questions in an interview and see the type of person that he is. All that was done, and done thoroughly and from a detail-oriented standpoint by the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm sure they feel pretty good about their 6 picks. I think they feel like all of them will find a role, and roles can be varied. Starting role, obviously, is primo, but it might be sub-package, nickel package, dime package, might be special teams. Who knows? Offensively, it could, you might not start, but you might be the first guy in. Whether it's a guard or a tackle, you've shown position versatility, and you're going to be the first guy off the bench. That's an important role to fill. Everybody is going to be given a role. And as a player, your objective is to at least show that you can achieve that role and maybe more. So we'll see how it all unfolds. A lot of times you don't find out how successful you were in the draft until 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road. How many guys actually made it? How many guys ended up fulfilling the role that you initially set for them? How many guys superseded that role and did more than what your expectation was? Maybe you had one that made the Pro Bowl. That, that's the ultimate goal, I guess. Then multiple Pro Bowls. You cannot project that. You can't say, this guy looks like a 5-time Pro Bowler. This guy looks like he could be a potential Hall of Famer. This guy looks like a lock for the Hall of Fame. Very rarely does it work that way. Very rarely does it work that way. With that said, although I was privileged to play with one that worked that way, number 78 in your program, number 1 in your heart, Anthony Munoz, that dude, from Jump Street, all the physical attributes you could want. He had the mental makeup. He had the intelligence, the competitive spirit. I mean, he wanted to be great. First ballot Hall of Famer. Played right next to the dude. I'm telling you, he was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Almost machine-like. A genetic marvel with a mind to match. And as well as great a football player as Anthony Munoz is, as we know, he's an even better human being if that's possible. What he does in the community with the Anthony Munoz Foundation and everything else, second to none. He is one of one. Let's get to your, Dave, let's get to the people's comments, concerns, whatever the case may be, questions. See what's on everybody's mind out there, Dave Burke.
All right, well, first lap, we've got to talk about Friday night, the 3rd annual First Star Logistics draft, Bengals draft party.
Yeah.
It was a great success. Enjoyed seeing all the people that came, and then over 16,000 views of the live stream. We cannot thank everybody enough that took part, especially our guests that we had. Andre Yosevich was unbelievable, and Eric All Jr. as well. It was great having those guys there. Great panel with you on there, Joe Goodberry, Alan True, and Brad Johansson. Great night overall, all the way around. And we can't thank First Star Logistics enough, because they're the ones that put that all together for us to have a good time. Yeah,
there's no doubt, Dave. I mean, that was a football party extraordinaire. There was a lot of football talked about that night. Absolutely. And I thought that the 2 players, as you described, that came out and gave of their free time to come out and visit the fans and be with the fans on draft night. Andre Josivash is extremely intelligent. He handled himself that way in the interview. Eric All Jr. is recovering from a serious injury, obviously, and has already been ruled out this particular season. But that didn't deter him from coming out and visiting with fans. I mean, there's a kid that went to Fairchild High School, plays college football, and comes back home professionally to Cincinnati in the National Football League. And yeah, there were. I mean, it was interesting, the dialogue, the kind of adjustments that have to be made. It's almost like when we're doing something like that, it's almost like we're in our little mini draft room as well. And off the board comes this player, that player, and boy, you got to readjust your line of thinking and go in a different direction. And it's fun. Everybody that was involved in the panel was prepped. I mean, did serious homework. It was not, fly by the seat of the pants. I thought, Joe Goodberry was extraordinary. Allen was a big time addition. And I mean, they had reasons for what they were saying. I mean, it was backed up. Their opinions had factual support and looking at tape support and those kind of things. So yeah, it was, I thought, very well done. And First Star Logistics, tip of the cap to you guys, because I mean, there were football fans. It was fun. There was food. I don't know if there's
prizes, tons of prizes.
Yeah.
Somebody won that Bengals golf cart. You and I are going to be delivering that to them here either this week or next week. And that's going to be interesting to have a fun time to do that as well.
No doubt. I mean, we're not talking about little,
trinkets.
Yeah.
There's no trinkets.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We're not talking about a little Bengals necklace. We're talking about, golf carts. We're talking about big time items. We're talking about big dollar items. Kevin, First Star Logistics, always top shelf. Everything they do is first class, or they decide they're not going to do it if it's not first class. So when they decide to execute, it's all executed at a high level, and it's always first class.
We got to say hello to our regulars that join us, Dan the Man. And I have to apologize to Dan the Man, because during the live stream, I wasn't seeing the comments as they were coming through. We had somebody else doing that, and somehow he got put into a timeout or something. Our apologies. I don't know what the deal was, but it happened from what he had said. And we apologize. He's a regular. We love him to death. And Dan, also to answer your question, no, there's not going to be a Dave Burke bobblehead. But Dolores Cole's with us as well. And Dave, big news. Yash over in England says he finally got a job upgrade, but he says it's 5 days a week at the office though. And he has to work from 2 p.m. Eastern and 2 p.m. Eastern time. So he's going to be sometimes unavailable. So but we hope
miss you, Yash.
He's with us. So hopefully he's with us every time we get to do this. But that was, always good to see the regulars come in and their comments. And we're going to get to some of those comments. We're going to start with Josh Holland, who says, I'm curious, Dave, who do you think is the front runner for right guard right now?
Well, there's going to be multiple candidates, obviously. I think Fairchild is going to be, right in the mix. Obviously, you take a guy in the third round, you take a guy with the 81st pick of the draft out of Georgia. We talked about all his credentials. But Cody Ford, in my mind, is going to be somebody that gets the first shot in the interior of the offensive line. Cody Ford showed position versatility last year. I thought he had a great season. He played both guards, played both tackle positions, and played them well. And when Frank Pollock had to call upon Cody Ford for injuries or other reasons to move from one spot to another, he did so willingly and effectively. Cody Ford is a great team player. Cody Ford, played with Orlando Brown at Oklahoma when those two were out there playing next to each other. Cody Ford at left tackle and left guard, and Orlando Brown at the left tackle position. It looked like they were at home working with each other. So you've got that, I think, in Cody Ford's favor. The fact that he has worked with Orlando Brown both at the collegiate level and in the National Football League, and that's big. When you're talking about that type of thing, you have a great feel for the guy next to you when they run stunts. You know, what kind of depth does he set at? Do I need to move off the line of scrimmage on my initial alignment, or do I need to crowd the line of scrimmage, get up to closer to the line of scrimmage because my left tackle does? So you already know all that stuff. You already know when the end's penetrating, you know, how powerful he is passing off to you. You know the angles you're supposed to be taking. All that stuff is a big deal, is a big plus. I'm not saying others can't catch up. Others can catch up and catch up quickly. If you're a football player that has good football acumen, good football IQ, and physically and mentally can adapt and handle things, you can adapt and get it done. Dylan Fairchild played at a high level, and you know, he's an accomplished football player. There's no question about it. But I think probably the initial opportunity would probably be Cody Ford's. And I'm not saying that he's got the position and it's his to lose, but I'm saying probably in day one of mini camps, OTAs, training camp, I would imagine Cody Ford is lining up at one of the guard spots.
Dolores, again, we always love having Dolores on. Lap, if you had to grade our draft, what would it be? How about compared to our division?
Okay, I did that, Dolores, and really our division, I thought, did a hell of a job. You know, I've got the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have with A's. I have Cleveland with a B plus, and I have us with high B, low B plus. You know, I've got us in that B plus range. I think the division did very well, but man, Baltimore, man, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 draft picks, and probably 9 more free agents. I mean, they had a bunch of additions to their football team. Cleveland the same way. Cleveland 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 draft picks, and a bunch of free agents to add to the mix as well. Pittsburgh always does a good job. Pittsburgh 3, 6, 7 picks on their side of things. Everybody had a minimum of 1 pick per round except the Bengals. The Bengals had the fewest picks in the actual draft, and even though these teams had more picks, they signed at least as many free agents for the most part as the Cincinnati Bengals. So, I mean, I think, man, Pittsburgh, Derek Harmon, I really like him as an interior defensive tackle out of Oregon that they took with their first rounder. In the third round, they took a good running back, in my estimation, Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. I thought they got good value there. Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State, edge rush guy in the fourth round. I mean, that's pretty good start to a draft right there. Baltimore, Malachi Starks, then Mike Green. People had Mike Green going, you know, high first round. A lot of people did. That's good value that he slid to number 59, and the Baltimore Ravens gobbled him up. Emory Jones out of LSU, an offensive lineman. I think he can start for him at either guard or tackle. I think they got some value there. Gordon Cardon Vincent, 6'7", 315, out of Alabama A&M, and another offensive tackle. Massive human being, 6'7", 315, long arms, tenacious player. As usual, I think the AFC North did a good job. I marvel at Baltimore and Pittsburgh particularly. Seems like every single year, man, they put the bat on the ball. In every single round, it seems like they do such a good job. Cleveland did a good job as well. Cleveland, obviously, addressing that quarterback position. You know, they hit it twice in the draft. So we'll see if it pans out for them. Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon in the third round with the 94th pick, come back at 144, the end of the fifth round with Shedeur Sanders. So you got Kenny Pickett, you got Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. Watson, I'm not sure, is a factor. I don't know physically if he can even contribute. But got a lot of options at the quarterback position in Cleveland. If one of them steps up and shows they can play, Cleveland's a pretty damn good football team. A lot of other areas. They've got a lot of pieces. And their defensive football team, was talking a little bit earlier with Charles Davis, a podcast with him a little bit earlier today. That'll be you'll be seeing that here shortly on In the Trenches. And he talked about if the Bengals could just be like middle of the pack defensively with that offense the Cincinnati Bengals have, and we all agree, we all know offensively we can score on any defense. We can compete with anybody offensively. Get the defense up to the middle of the pack. If the Cleveland Browns get their offense to the middle of the pack with the defense they have, it's another good football team. So we'll see if one of those quarterbacks takes the bull by the horns and leads that Cleveland Browns football team to a better season than they've had here recently.
We're going to go to Dan the Man. Lap, with the new hires, do you think we have an upgraded coaching staff this year? And how long does it take for players to adjust to new coaches? Overnight? Over an entire season?
Yeah, it's not going to be over an entire season, Dan the Man. And I do feel like the coaches that have been brought in are high caliber, high quality. But I felt that way also about the coaches that have since moved on. In my mind, there was nobody on the Cincinnati Bengals defensive coaching staff that didn't belong in the National Football League. I mean, it wasn't like, I can remember as a player, and name will go unmentioned, unnamed, but, certain coach would get up in front of the team and everybody would be looking at each other like, what the hell? Come on. What's he doing here? Shouldn't be in the National Football League. Not the case. Not the case with the defensive coaching staff that is, guys that have moved on, as well as the new guys that have been brought in. I think that Al Golden's system has merit. I think it's been tried and true. He Notre Dame at the collegiate level, obviously, and that's different than the National Football League. But you go to the national championship with that defense and those defensive players from Notre Dame. Congratulations to all those guys that are embarking on an NFL career. Al Golden runs a 4-2-5 defense, just like Lou Anarumo did. 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. They might, obviously, just because it's the same numbers of players, 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and an extra defensive back. Usually you have 4, but in this configuration, even in base defense, they're going 4-2-5. 4-2-5 normally would be a sub-package defense, nickel or dime package. The Bengals don't have to substitute to go to their nickel. That's a plus. The 4-2-5. A lot of teams in the National Football League are starting to run that. Lou Anarumo ran it. Al Golden runs it. Is it the exact same? No. And there are there's some subtle differences, and maybe some not so subtle in terms of coverage, in terms of blitz packages, in terms of things that you ask your inside linebackers, safeties to do from a blitz standpoint. There's all kinds of things that you can do differently out of the same configuration, the same formation from a defensive standpoint, just like offensively. But I do think that if the Bengals can bring that defense up to the middle of the pack and get a few more takeaways, a few more turnovers for Joe Burrow and the offense to have an extra possession. If the Bengals offense ends up having more possessions than the opponent in more games this upcoming season, they're going to do some damage. It's a playoff team waiting to happen.
That kind of led into a gray areas question. He said, Dave, what do you think Al Golden's defense-based package will be? 3-4-4-3, something else? Do linebackers play a large role in this scheme? And you kind of think they might because of the way they drafted.
Yeah, I mean, his base defense is a 4-2-5, but he'll do other things. And if it's depending on the down and distance, his nickel and dime package can have 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. the thing that, it could have 4 down linemen, 1 linebacker, 6 defensive backs, 3 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. There's a million ways you can go. And it depends on opposition personnel, depends on down and distance. There are a lot of factors there. But I think what Al Golden likes in the players that he drafted, Demetrius Knight, we talked about the versatility, his athletic ability, versatility. The dude played quarterback in high school. Dude was a quarterback. He's got some athletic ability to him. There's no question about it. Barrett Carter, the same way. And he's extremely athletic, 6'1", 230-pound guy that can play all 3 downs. And you can do a lot of things with him. He drafted linebackers to fit what I just mentioned. You don't have to substitute to get to your nickel package. They bring in extra defense. They bring in extra wide receivers, or they bring in an extra tight end and go big, whatever the case may be. You feel good about the versatility of your linebackers and your safeties to be able to match up from a physical and mental standpoint with the big extra body tight end or the extra wide receiver and the challenges that might present in coverage. So, linebackers are going to be very important in Al Golden's system. There's no doubt about that. They are the conduit in the communication between Al Golden and the entire defensive football team. Whoever is the quarterback of the huddle, Logan Wilson or Demetrius Knight, and I think it will. Who knows? Logan Wilson has been that guy, the green dot guy. Will Demetrius Knight be involved in that situation? It's never bad to have 2 of them. Never bad to have 2 linebackers that either one of them could take control of the huddle, could take the communication coming from the sideline, impart it to the teammates, make adjustments, and both linebackers can and will make adjustments based on what they do from a personnel standpoint, formationally, motion, change strength of formation. It's something that that is expected out of the linebacker position. There's no question.
We also got to say hello to a regular. Natty Ron is in the house as well. And he basically has a question. He says, Dave, do you like Fairchild? I actually think he fits AFC North style football. He looks physical. You kind of talked about that with his background.
Yeah, I like Fairchild. I do. I mean, the guy's 6'5", about 320 pounds. And the thing about him is he's a wrestling champion, like we talked about a little earlier. Never lost a match in high school, 2 years, undefeated. Guys like that fight to the whistle and sometimes fight after the whistle. They've just got a nasty demeanor. And I don't mean nasty in a negative way, not nasty where, you're going to hit after the play, you're going to punch somebody in the helmet or punch somebody and get penalized. I'm not talking about hurting your team, losing your mind with a nasty mentality or attitude. I'm talking about just playing the game from snap to whistle with a nasty frame of mind. Like, I'm going to beat you up physically. I'm going to have better technique. I'm going to have better hand placement. I'm stronger than you. I'm better than you. That type of mindset. And I think Dylan Fairchild going to Georgia and playing in the SEC has that kind of competitive fire. That kind of mentality that I'm gonna go out there and play hard and get things done, and I'm not gonna back down to anybody. And he is. I mean, he's a guy that gives full effort. You never see him, okay, come off the ball. Yeah, is the play over? Okay, I'll let you go. None of that. He's going to finish until the whistle and maybe pass the whistle a little bit, but not illegally, not trying to cause any issues in that regard. I like I talked about before, I like his feet. I like his hands. I like his hand placement. I like the activity of his hands. I like his lateral movement, skill set. I think he's an extremely talented pass protector. Pro Football Focus backs that up with an 87 protection grade in 24 That's outstanding. Like we talked about earlier, 1 quarterback sack allowed in 2 SEC seasons. And in the SEC, you're going against the best. And like we talked about earlier as well, every day at practice, Georgia had a good defensive front. You're going against good players in practice. I can't tell you what it was like going against Mike Reed when I was a rookie. Rookie offensive lineman out of Syracuse. We ran an unbalanced line, and with Ben Schwartzwalder, who had, running backs like Jim Brown, Ernie Davis, Jim Nance, who played with the Patriots. I mean, he wanted to run the football. We ran an unbalanced line to run power football. Pass protection was not a big deal. We did it, but it was not like NFL technique pass protection. It was off more play action. It was off, go after him still in the running game and play action pass. So coming in the National Football League, learning pass protection techniques and fundamentals, going against Mike Reed to learn them. Dude was the best pass rusher at the defensive tackle position in the NFL at that time frame. And it was because of his short space quickness was a blur. I mean, it was like, did I close my eyes? He couldn't have gotten from here to there as quickly as he did. He did. So going against a guy like that, was humbling. But I knew going against him was going to help me because there wasn't anybody any better. Games were going to be a vacation. And honestly, they were. I mean, I'd practice against Mike Reed during the week, man, and I'd be like, oh, man, this is not easy stuff, man. This is hard work. Get to the game. It's not as tough in the NFL as I thought it was, trying to pass protect because Mike Reed was so good. So I think Dylan Fairchild, Georgia offensive line, Georgia defensive line, all those guys made each other better. And, that's why they competed for national championships and won 2 of them when he was down there. Heck, they won the damn thing twice when he was at Georgia. 2-time national champion as well. I mean, that's a heck of a thing on your resume. It's like you come to the league and you got those little deals on your resume. Yep. SEC, we won it all. National champion twice. Whew. It's pretty heady stuff. That's really good stuff.
Stay on the offensive line. Steve-O says, Dave, he thought that you kind of answered the question for left guard. His question was right guards at Volson, Ford, Patrick, now Fairchild, etc.
Yeah, Volson was the left guard. Volson started right away at the left guard position, played every game at left guard. Last year, Frank Pollock decided to go in a different direction than Volson. And the last, I think it was 6 or 7 games of the season, Volson was not the starter at left guard. But he probably feels like he's the incumbent left guard. That was his position. Cody Ford ended up going in there at the left guard position when Frank Pollock decided to make the move from Volson. So Cody Ford could end up staying at left guard, and Dylan Fairchild could be the right guard. Dylan Fairchild could line up initially at left guard, and Cody Ford at right guard, which Cody Ford could do because, like I said, he played all 4 positions last year: right and left guard, right and left tackle. Guy's invaluable to have a guy like that. So Dylan Fairchild probably feels most comfortable at the left guard position. And again, potentially he would be playing, next to Orlando Brown, which would be helpful. A guy with that kind of experience and that kind of talent at the left tackle position, that would be an easier transition. So I don't know. But Amarius Mims is his former teammate. He played next to it at Georgia, so there's a plus there. Orlando Brown, all his experience and everything going on at the left tackle position. I think Dylan Fairchild, quite honestly, is in a no-lose situation. He's basically in a win-win. That's why I look at Dylan Fairchild of all the draft picks. Now, I'm not gonna dismiss what Shamar Stewart could do. Shamar Stewart, hopefully. I mean, you draft a guy number 17 with the kind of abilities athletically. This guy's a genetic phenomenon. He's a freak. I mean, you'd expect high-level production from him. 39 pressures, 1.5 sacks. His last year in college. That doesn't that doesn't correlate. That doesn't compute, particularly with a guy 40-inch vertical, 10-foot 11-inch broad jump, 4.5940. I mean, I think Jerry Montgomery, the defensive line coach, and Al Golden are going to get a lot more out of Shamar Stewart. And Shamar Stewart, I think, is going to give them a lot of position versatility. You know, he could line up as a one technique inside the between the guard and the center, 2 technique right up on top of the guard, 3 technique outside shoulder of the guard, 4 technique or 3 technique inside shoulder of the guard, 4 technique head up on the guard, 5 technique outside shoulder of the guard, 6 technique, 7 technique, 8 technique, 9 technique. You know, going all the way outside the tackle. He could line up anywhere like that. He's got the athletic ability to do it. He's got the position versatility to do it. Hopefully, he gives Al Golden reps in a lot of different ways. Hopefully, he becomes, you know, a chess piece that Al Golden can move around and say, you don't have anybody to offset my guy. My guy is a chess piece that I'm gonna be able to checkmate you quickly with this chess piece. This is a big old chess piece on the board. I'm going to be able to do a lot of things with this guy, and you're going to have to figure out ways, and the offensive line coach, offensive coordinator, stay up at night ways to make sure that we have different ways to handle this guy because he can do so many things. Shamar Stewart, you can't just leave him one-on-one. He may end up one-on-one against a running back or a tight end or something. So, you know, he could provide a lot of problems for people, both physically for players and mentally for players and mentally for coaches that are prepping against him. But honestly, Dylan Fairchild might play more snaps. He may have an opportunity to line up and give the Cincinnati Bengals more snaps if he ends up getting a starting position at the guard position. Hopefully, Shamar Stewart ends up getting a starting position somewhere. If it's not a starting position, it's a big role position in Al Golden's defense. We're going to utilize him in a lot of different ways, or line him up just on the edge, or line him up inside a defensive tackle, or again, doing both, whatever the case may be. Both of these guys provide position versatility. They provide excellence in terms of athleticism, strength, balance, power, you know, all that sort of thing. And both guys are mentally capable of absorbing and handling a lot. So I think those are the 2 rookies that might have the biggest chance of making the biggest contributions potentially.
We're going to finish on this. Les Hernandez says his hot take: Shamar Stewart will make the all-rookie team with between 5 to 7 sacks. What do you say, Lap?
I'd love that 7 sack total. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing. People, me amongst them, 39 pressures, 1.5 sacks does not compute. The biggest challenge probably the coaching staff has defensively, or one of the biggest challenges they're probably talking about as a group, Jerry Montgomery talking about it with Al Golden. How do we coach up Shamar Stewart to finish? 39 pressures, he is a nuisance. He is causing problems. He is disruptive. He is the first guy that causes the quarterback or the running back to make a move and get off course. And they have he has had a very good support system at Texas A&M. And those guys benefited from his disruption and made a lot of plays. There's not a stat for disruptions, you know, unless you finish the play and get a tackle for loss or get a sack. You don't get disruptions. If there was a disruption stat, Shamar Stewart would probably have led college football. I mean, he may have been the most disruptive force at the line of scrimmage in college football. Al Golden, Jerry Montgomery, the Bengals organization looks at that and says, I can work with that. I can teach him to finish. The other thing is Shamar Stewart, some of the times when he didn't finish, he's doing things that other humans can't do. Like he's getting close enough to the quarterback because of his size and athleticism we talked about, where he's diving and trying to make an arm tackle or a hand tackle on a guy. And it doesn't fulfill itself. It doesn't happen. He doesn't finish it. There's some of that, you know. Bottom line is when you look at Shamar Stewart, is he winning at the line of scrimmage? Is he beating his opponent at the line of scrimmage? Hell yeah. In fact, it's rarely one guy They double him. They'll double him and have a running back in case he beats the double team. I mean, they are putting a lot of resources on Shamar Stewart to make sure that dude is blocked. And that's invaluable. I mean, all your other teammates in the huddle, hey, dude, appreciate it. I got one-on-ones, man. I got one-on-ones all day. Shamar, yeah, well, I wish I did. I got two guys, and if I beat one of the, I got a running back here. And all of those factors, you have to put all that in the evaluation pie. Bottom line is, they felt like Shamar Stewart was huge value at number 17, and they made that selection.
I encourage everybody. We have a small clip from the draft party. Alan True was on our panel, and Alan spoke to Texas A&M head coach Mike Elko about Stewart. And Elko, who I've known when he was at BG as the head coach, says if we had this guy 2 or 3 years, the Bengals wouldn't be getting him at 17.
He'd top 5 pick.
He'd be a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that says a lot when one of the top defensive coaches in all of college football says that about you as a player. And again, we're talking about Jerry Montgomery, and Alan brought it up as well. He feels Stewart is a lot like Rashawn Gary, who went to the Packers out of Michigan, that people thought was a failure because he was a big, high-ranked 5-star recruit just like Stewart, and then didn't really do what people expected at Michigan, but has become a heck of a pro with the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, and the thing is, Michigan was Rashawn Gary, Texas A&M with Shamar Stewart. What are they asking them to do? Are they asking them to line up down the middle of an offensive lineman in 2-gap, and maybe not show all this athletic prowess that they have? And again, maybe they're getting at the collegiate level, they're getting double and triple teamed. Well, in the NFL, you can't do that with everybody. You can't spend all those resources on one guy. You got hopefully multiple guys that you're going to be able to to play with, and you won't be the focus of attention. I think sometimes scheme, sometimes what coaches ask players to do. And a guy like Shamar Stewart, you got to like the character of, I'm going to do my job. I'm not going to freelance. I'm going to do what the coaches tell me to do. The rest of my teammates aren't freelancing. I'm not going to freelance. I'm not going to try to go make a hero play. And Shamar Stewart, I think the kid is definitely coachable. He has unique athletic traits and abilities. And I have every confidence in the world that Jerry Montgomery and Al Golden are going to get the maximum out of him. They're going to right now, people are looking at him boom or bust. He has as much meat on the bone as just about anybody. He has as much upside potential or more upside potential than anybody. David Pollock, former Cincinnati Bengal, former Georgia Bulldog, says that Shamar Stewart has as much upside potential as anybody that was selected in the NFL draft. And David Pollock, pretty damn good football player, position versatility. He could play defensive end. He played linebacker. I mean, he did a lot of things for the Cincinnati Bengals. He had unique physical traits, athletic traits, like Shamar Stewart, has. He knows what he's looking at. He knows what he's talking about. When I hear David Pollock talking about that after he looks at tape of Shamar Stewart, that has some meaning to me. I think, not a former player that, is just looking to, okay, I'm going to make a controversial statement just to be controversial. That's not David Pollock. David Pollock does his homework. David Pollock is not going to say something if he doesn't mean it. And I think the fact that former Bengal David Pollock has that kind of feeling about the upside potential and possible development of Shamar Stewart speaks volumes. And Al Golden, Jerry Montgomery, they see it. They realize it as well. Now, it's up to the three of them, both those coaches and the player, to get it done, because he has a ton of potential to develop. There is no two ways about it.
Lab, just like you said, they got to get it done. We got to get it done because we have another guest we're going to be recording as soon as we jump off here.
Oh, that's right.
It's that time. We want to thank everybody for being with us again on In the Trenches live stream from the First Star Logistics Studios. Again, there's clips being put up from the draft party. If you missed the draft party, the whole thing's up there to watch on the First Star Media Group YouTube channel. and we're cutting up clips on there as well. So, Lap, final word, say goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, final word is another draft in the books. Have confidence, have faith in the Cincinnati Bengals organizationally and scouting department and coaching staff. They all work in concert, that they did their homework, they did their due diligence, and every single draft pick that they chose were taken for a reason. They spent a lot of time setting that draft board. They don't want to deviate and fall away from that draft board too far. So we'll see. I mean, everybody's got opinions. Everybody thinks they had the best NFL draft until players start going on the football field and showing if they can play football. It's all just talk.
Thank you, everybody.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.